I'm 28 years old. I've been married for 4 years. My husband and I seem to have a normal life, work, home, plans for the future. We weren't perfect, but we always knew how to talk things through and support each other. The only thing that had always caused some tension was his younger sister, Laura. She's 24. She had always been difficult. She changed jobs often, fought with her parents, moved from place to place. But my husband felt responsible for her. He said that after their mother died, he had essentially become her main support. A few months ago, Laura called us late at night. She was crying and said she was being evicted, that she had nowhere to go, and that she needed temporary shelter. My husband and I talked and decided to let her stay with us for a couple of weeks, until she found a job and a place to live. I immediately set conditions. It was temporary. She would help around the house. We were not becoming her long-term plan. She agreed to everything. The first few days were fine. She was polite, grateful, said she really appreciated the help. But after about a week, I started noticing strange little things. She stopped looking for a job. She slept until noon. Her belongings started appearing everywhere, in the bathroom, in the kitchen, in our bedroom. And she started acting as if the apartment was hers. She rearranged furniture for convenience. She commented that I cooked things the wrong way. She told my husband that I was too controlling about the space. I tried not to escalate things. I told myself it was stress, that she was struggling, that it was temporary. But one evening, I came home earlier than usual, and overheard a conversation that changed everything. Laura was sitting with my husband in the kitchen and said, "It would be easier for you without her. You know that. You're constantly tense because of her." When they saw me, she immediately stopped talking. Update 1. After that evening, I could no longer pretend nothing had happened. The conversation I'd overheard kept replaying in my head. The phrase, "It would be easier for you without her," didn't sound like an emotional outburst. It was said calmly, confidently, as if it had been thought through in advance. I started paying closer attention. And then I noticed things I had previously brushed off as coincidence. Laura almost always waited for moments when I wasn't around. If I went to take a shower, she would immediately appear in the kitchen. If I went to the store, she would suddenly remember she urgently needed to talk to her brother. If my husband and I were sitting together in the living room, she would either interrupt the conversation or leave, only to return the exact moment I stepped away. She started talking to him quietly, in a whisper, leaning closer than necessary. The phrases changed too. "You take on too much. You've always been so responsible, even when things were hard. I don't know how you manage all of this." She never said anything directly. She just chipped away. One time I walked into the kitchen and heard her say, "I just want you to have a peaceful life. You deserve that." He didn't answer. He just nodded. That same evening, I tried to talk to my husband. Calmly. Without accusations. I said I was uncomfortable, that I felt like Laura was trying to push me out of our space. I said it felt like she was starting to see me as no longer part of his life. His reaction shocked me. He immediately became defensive. He said I was overanalyzing everything. That I was looking for problems where there were none. That Laura was just going through a hard time, and I needed to be more patient. "She's my sister," he repeated several times. "She has no one but me." I asked if he remembered that we had agreed this was temporary. He said, "Now wasn't the time to pressure her. That she needed to feel stability." And that was when I felt something new for the first time. Not anger. Not jealousy. Fear. Fear that in this story, I was the only one for whom this was still temporary. Update 2. After that conversation, something in the apartment shifted. On the surface, everything stayed the same. We ate together, talked, lived under the same roof. But I no longer felt like it was my home. Laura started behaving more confidently. Not loudly. Not aggressively. On the contrary, calmly, almost like a homeowner. She stopped asking for permission. She took my clothes from the closet. Because they fit anyway. She used my cosmetics. Because we're basically family. She cooked dinner, but only for herself and her brother. One day I came home from work and saw that the living room had been rearranged. The couch had been moved, the coffee table pushed aside, and her belongings appeared on the shelves. When I asked what this was about, she smiled and said, "It's cozier this way. You don't mind, right?" My husband stood nearby and said nothing. I started noticing something else. She talked more and more about their childhood. About how hard things were without their mother. About how he always protected her. About how no one had ever been as close to her as he was. These conversations always happened in front of me. As if deliberately. She would say, "We've been through so much together. Not everyone can understand that." And she would look not at him, but at me. One day, I accidentally overheard her phone conversation. She was in the bathroom, but the door was slightly open. She was laughing and said to someone, "No, I'm not going anywhere. This is my home now. He won't let them kick me out." My breath caught. That evening, I tried talking to my husband again. I said this was crossing boundaries. That I no longer felt safe in my own home. That we had agreed on a few weeks, and it had already been a month. He looked tired and irritated. "You're putting me in a position where I have to choose," he said. "That's not fair." I replied that I wasn't making him choose. I was asking him to remember that he was my husband, not her rescuer. He stayed silent for a long time. Then he said the sentence that finally shifted everything. "Maybe you just don't understand how hard things are for her right now." In that moment I realized. He had already made his choice. He just hadn't said it out loud yet. Update 3. After that conversation, I stopped trying to be the wiser one. I stopped justifying her behavior and searching for explanations for his silence. I simply started documenting reality. And the reality was this. In my own home, I had become a guest. Laura no longer even tried to hide her attitude. She spoke to me coldly, briefly, as if I were unnecessary. If my husband was around, she could be sweet. If not, she allowed herself sarcasm. One time she said, "You're very tense. Maybe you should stay over at your friend's place more often?" I didn't respond. But I felt physically sick. A few days later, something happened that I still replay in my head. My husband came home from work angry. Very angry. He didn't even say hello. He just asked, "Do you want to explain something to me?" I didn't understand what he meant. Then he showed me a message. A long text. Supposedly from me. In it, I was complaining about Laura to his parents. Writing that she was a burden, that she was destroying our marriage, and that I wanted them to take her back. I had never written that. The message had been sent from my account. A wave of panic hit me. I started explaining that it wasn't me. That I hadn't written anything like that. That it was absurd. Laura was sitting nearby, crying. Quietly. Neatly. She said, "I didn't want to show this, but she's hated me for a long time." He believed her. He said he was disappointed. That he hadn't expected such cruelty from me. That I had crossed a line. I went into the bedroom and locked the door. My hands were shaking. I checked my phone, my email, my messengers. And then I saw it. A few days earlier, someone had logged into my account from another device, at a time when I was at work. I understood how she had done it. I remembered leaving my laptop unlocked once. How she had accidentally asked to use my phone. How she always knew my passwords. Because I hadn't changed them in years. This wasn't an impulsive lie. It was a prepared setup. That night I didn't sleep. I sat on the bed thinking only one thing. If I did nothing, I would be the next one erased. Final update. After that night, I stopped trying to convince my husband with words. I understood something simple. In this situation, words didn't matter. Only facts mattered, and the choices people make when doubting becomes inconvenient. The next day, I took time off work. While both of them were home, I sat in the bedroom with my laptop and did what I should have done earlier. I gathered evidence. Login history on my account. The exact time the message was sent. An IP address that didn't match my device. Screenshots of her access. Email logs. It all formed a clear, undeniable picture. That evening, I asked my husband to talk. No shouting. No tears. I simply showed him the facts. Slowly. Step by step. He was silent. For a long time. I watched his expression change, from irritation to doubt, from doubt to shock. He looked at Laura. She first tried to deny it. Then she cried. Then she said she just wanted him to have a family that wouldn't betray him. And in that moment I realized. Even now, she didn't think she was wrong. My husband asked for time to think. He said it was too much at once. That he was torn between two people he loved. I didn't wait. I packed the essentials that same night. I didn't slam doors. I didn't demand a choice. I simply said, I won't live in a place where I can be replaced and erased. I went to stay with a friend. A few days later, he wrote to me. He said he had talked to his sister. That she needed help. That he had asked her to go stay with their parents, not now, but when things calmed down. I understood the answer without words. I filed for divorce. Not because he cheated on me physically, but because at the moment when I was framed in my own home, he chose convenience over truth. Several months have passed. I live alone. Quietly. Peacefully. Without tension in my shoulders and without fear of leaving my phone unattended. And now I know for sure. If someone can erase you from your own life, they were never truly on your side. This is not a story about a bad sister. It's a story about choice. And I made mine.